Welcome to episode 157 of the quest lore series, Song of the Elves. To start this quest you must have completed Druidic Ritual, The Restless Ghost, Priest in Peril, Making History, Sheep Herder, Waterfall Quest, Plague City, Biohazard, Underground Pass, Regicide, Roving Elves, Morning's End Part 1, and Morning's End Part 2. Edmund says that Elena has been taken by the Knights of Ardoin. They claim that she was inciting a rebellion against the king. King Lathas says that although his brother Tyrus is dead, the Dark Lord is still a threat. The idea of the plague must remain, and there can't be a rebellion until he's dealt with, even though you know that the plague isn't real. You tell Edmund that the king will not free his daughter Elena, and you update him on current events. When she sent some plague samples to Guido and Varrock, it showed that there was no plague and that the king was aware of this. But as his brother Tyrus, the king of West Ardoin, explored the lands to the west, he supposedly became corrupted by the Dark Lord, and that is why King Lathas decided to quarantine the city off, to keep the rest of the world safe. The plague was an excuse that he gave for doing it. You then explained that there are elves who are in a civil war. An elf called Arianwin then updated you, saying that King Lathas and Lord Iorwerth were in fact the evil ones that were the ones intending to summon the Dark Lord. King Lathas was disappointed when his father split the kingdom into two between him and his brother, and he always hoped that he would reclaim Camelot from King Arthur. He believes that the Dark Lord will help him get that. Lord Iorwerth wants to use the Dark Lord to defeat the rebel elves and end the civil war, which has been going on for hundreds of years. As Lord Iorwerth believes that the secrets to summoning the Dark Lord are found within the Temple of Light, the plague was made up to hide their mining operation beneath the city. All the people who they claim died of the plague are actually getting sent into the mines. As they're holding Elena in the prison beneath the castle, you could disguise yourself as a Knight of Ardoin, infiltrate the prison and free her. Arena makes a tabard for the armor with some silk and some purple dye. You use the tabard on the plate body and the red dye on the helmet to color the plume. You now have Ardoin Knight armor. Elena has a plan to escape. The iron grate at the back of her cell looks like it could melt with some sulfuric acid, which she has at her home. You get the thick, clear liquid from her cabinet and she makes her escape. Edmund knows that she got out and is currently hiding in the Renison household in West Ardoin. There, when you search the bed in the corner, you find a trapdoor underneath it, which you climb through. Here is the Ardoin Resistance. Elena has been busy recruiting people by telling them the truth about the plague, whilst you were busy infiltrating the mourners during the Morning's End quests. Some people that she tried to convince didn't believe her and reported her, which is why she was arrested. You update her by saying that under West Ardoin, the Temple of Light is being discovered to summon the Dark Lord. You've got to set up a plan before they do so. Councillor Halgreave suggests that you use the dirty tactic of disguising yourself as a Knight of Ardoin and doing certain actions as if they were ordered by the king, which will upset the people. Even though it's not a perfect plan, it's for the better good. The aim is to recruit 80 more people across both sides of Ardoin. You disguise yourself as a mourner and burn sacks of grain in West Ardoin and say that it was the king's orders. You also tell the people that there are new taxes and that the nurse has to restrain from helping those that are sick. In East Ardoin you dress as a knight and start warning everyone about new taxes too. With 80 new recruits you'll be able to move against the king. Now you defeat 10 mourners upstairs, climb down the trapdoor and defeat 11 more. Esselt escapes by teleporting out. Before the king has any time to prepare, you go to the castle and defeat 15 paladins and knights of Ardoin. King Lathas says that he was betrayed and that the rest of Ardoin will be betrayed too. He was annoyed that he didn't get his birthright and that the land was split in two. He was aware that the mourners were being used to discover the Temple of Light and that he was assisting in bringing the return of Zamorak. He says that his brother was never meant to rule. Then there was a trial condemning the king. He curses everyone in the name of Zamorak and is executed. You and Elena are knocked out. You seem to be captured by Lord Iorwerth, and just as he's about to throw you in prison, Arianwin appears accusing him of trying to summon Zamorak. Lord Iorwerth says that he is actually not supporting Zamorak, that was just a lie he told King Lathas to get him on his side. Once they discovered that he secretly worships him, it was the obvious lie to tell. Lord Iorwerth serves only one goddess, Sarin, and the Temple of Light is actually going to be used to summon her, not Zamorak. He claims to have learned this by breaking a seal in the Library of Knowledge, but Arianwin doesn't trust him. Iorwerth decides to let you go. In Lecture, a meeting is going to be called and you're asked to fetch Yizgwin on the upper platforms, although he's not very trusting of you. And next to the pond you find Elena. Arianwin wants to discuss a plan of action and why Lord Iorwerth may have let you go. Maybe he thinks that the rebels could be of use to him. By breaking one of the 9 seals within the Grand Library, he has learned that Sarin lives trapped within the Temple of Light. Sarin was the elven goddess who helped build the great city of Prifddinas. At the end of the God Wars, Sarin was shattered into thousands of crystals. When Lord Iorwerth first took control of the city, Baxtorian led an army to try and stop him, but that failed. So they sang the Song of Inversion and reverted the entire city to a crystal seed. Baxtorian is the one that Sarin trusted the most, so maybe he might have left some information before he passed. It's also important to learn what Lord Iorwerth's intentions are, and whether he does have access to the Grand Library. Isilwin will give you a book that was passed down from his ancestors, which might contain something of use. You make your way to the Baxtorian Falls. Arianwin's parents unfortunately passed when they assisted Baxtorian in trying to reclaim the Elven lands. This happened when he was a young child. He hands you the book that Isilwin was given. The book is a riddle that talks about items that can be placed on the pillars in this tomb. A nature rune, an irit leaf, a black knife, a wine of Zamorak, an adamant chain body, and a cabbage are placed on the 6 pillars according to the riddle, and Baxtorian comes to life from his statue. You update him by saying that Glariel couldn't make it, but that you did move her remains here. Arianwin says that Isilwin, his grandson, is in Lecture, but sadly his daughter, Elves, passed away. Arianwin teleports himself and Baxtorian to Lecture, and you go back too. Baxtorian was filled in on everything that has happened, and he admits that he knows that the seals of the Ground Library can theoretically be broken. Sarin told Baxtorian that those who followed the light could access her knowledge. Baxtorian thinks that you might be able to enter Prifddinas in its seed form. It's kind of like a box, and with the right potion you should be able to bypass the defenses around it. As Elena specializes in potions, you meet her next to the pond. She says that Baxtorian reminds her of the story of 2 brothers living in Avaroka. They had a simple life farming the land and selling produce to the people in the city. These farmers were called to fight in a war, and unfortunately one of them died. But with that also died all the hope that the other brother had. In a similar way, Baxtorian lost his wife, his people and his kingdom a long time ago. Though he might not be totally lost, he still has Isilwin and could turn the war around. Here in the garden patch they have prepared the soil and you plant a Candentine seed for it to grow into an Elder Candentine plant. Although the walls of Prifddinas have been enchanted, Lord Iorwerth likely has managed to manipulate the defences. There were 8 separate elven clans that journeyed with Sarin to this world, and all of those clans still exist. Lord Amlod, from the clan of Mystics, created Prifddinas' defences. He's alive but went into hiding. He left a clue behind, which Baxtorian has deciphered. He also deciphered Lady Traherne's clue as well. The clue for Lord Amlod is that the elven crystal will lead you to him. Baxtorian gives you a crystal seed which you can use to help locate him. And to find Lady Traherne of the mining and smithing clan, her clue was that she journeyed south from the well. You also ask Baxtorian about Sarin, and he says that although she was remarkable, under the surface she hid a great pain, a sadness unlike any other. She never spoke of it, but you could see the anguish. Even gods had their demons. The brightest light cast the darkest shadow, and no one shined brighter than Sarin. Elined enchants the crystal seed that Baxtorian gave you, and you teleport to the edge of a field with a mysterious figure who has a bear cloak. You see a stag and nature all around you. You describe the land ahead of you, and he says it reminds him of Prifddinas. He is Lord Amlod, and he is happy to travel to Lecture with you. Next you go to the Well of Voyage near the western entrance of the underground pass. South of the well you see a crevice which you mine through. On the other side you see an old elf. She is asleep and has an exoskeleton made from runite. It is damaged and needs repairing. You use a runite bar to repair it and she awakens. You say that Baxtorian sent you and that you need help in the fight against Lord Iorwerth. Enough time has passed for the Candentine to grow and it is ready to be harvested. The other ingredient needed is crystal dust. Baxtorian gives you an old crystal which you grind with a pestle and mortar. You add the Elder Candentine to a vial of water and then use the crushed crystal, making an inversion potion. Everyone is gathered to discuss the next step. As you now have everything needed to enter the crystal seed containing Prifddinas, and only one person can enter the crystal, they vote for you. You talk to Lord Amlod to teleport you into the Grand Library. You have to find the broken seal and discover the knowledge that Iorwerth had uncovered. You can also seek out the other 8 seals and break them as well, as this knowledge may be the key to fight against the darkness. Those who follow the light will be able to access Sarin's knowledge. Inside you touch the seal of the Forgotten, and the memory of Sarin appears. The knowledge from the broken seal was that within Sarin there was darkness. It was sealed away in the Temple of Light. A prison within a prison safeguards that darkness, but there is a key, an orb of light which unlocks it, and the orb was hidden away. The shrine at Gorla is where it lies, and now there's a light puzzle. You place and rotate the mirrors to unlock the seal, and then touch the seal of Ithil, and the memory of Sarin appears. A mystic called Kaidwad documented Sarin's teachings in a book called the Kurdi. More knowledge can be found in the seals of Kadun. You collect crystals from the crystal dispenser and take the hand mirrors. After placing them correctly, you unlock the next seal. Kaidwad was Sarin's closest friend, but elves were mortal and each death was like a knife to her heart. Next seal is of Chris. Sarin shared the knowledge of the Song of Creation with the elves. Next is the seal of Amlod, which reveals that by extending the lives of the elves she had accidentally cursed them because when she went away it would cause them pain and sometimes even death. The seal of Myla reveals that another god promised great power, so Sarin took all the elves to journey with her. The next seal, of Hefin, says that they found a new home, a city made from crystal, but underneath it was a dark power, of which Sarin thought that she could lift its curse. Unlocking the seal of Traherne reveals that after 1,000 years, deep beneath the mountains of their home, Sarin found a source of deathly energy. She believed that the darkness would be the perfect counter to nullify the curse, but she was mistaken. The last seal, of Iorwerth, says that Sarin is a being of light, but even within Sarin there is darkness. The darkness was combined with the deathly energy that Sarin found. Sarin created a fragment of herself, one of darkness rather than light, and hoped that this would end the curse. The darkness turned on Sarin and tried to destroy her, so she sealed it away. The fragment is what Lord Iorwerth is accidentally trying to summon. A meeting is called to discuss what's been discovered. Sarin's last attempt to allow the elves to live was to shatter herself into many crystals, and this is what all the elves carry with them, which explains why they don't die or suffer. You mentioned the orb, which is the key for the Temple of Light in Gorla. Baxtorian says that Gorla is an old shrine to Sarin, north of Prifddinas. Everybody needs some time to themselves before convening at another meeting later. In the meantime, while you are exploring in the Grand Library, Baxtorian has managed to decipher 2 more clues left by Lord Chris and Lord Hefin, so you can go find them. Lord Chris, of the clan of woodcutters and farmers, left a clue that the trees of his home will call to him. Lord Hefin, of the clan of the religious leaders of the elves, left a clue that she would walk across the water to the south. At the poison swamp, you jump over some stepping stones and find Lady Hefin. You say that she is needed in the village of Letya and she will go there at once. In the forest, you pass a stick trap and get to a lake. You see a tree which you try to chop. This is Lord Chris. You say that Baxtorian sent you to find him, and he knows that it's time to uproot and he will head to Letya at once. Another meeting is called, with many of the elders attending. Yisgwin has returned from Gorla trying to find the orb, but the shrine was empty. He thinks that the orb is at Lord Iorwerth's camp, and when scouting there he discovered that Lord Iorwerth already knows that you've been to the Grand Library. Assuming that he will soon discover the dwarven mines that led to the Temple of Light, they're going to make sure that the tunnel is secure while you go to Lord Iorwerth's camp. Arianwin wasn't able to attend the meeting. Apparently he wasn't feeling well. Yisgwin does not share his methods of how he managed to spy the information from Lord Iorwerth. You enter the cave at his camp, and one of the archers and warriors start to attack you. After you defeat both of them, you loot the chest and find the orb. Baxtorian will look after it. Instead of calling a meeting to say that the orb's been found, he's going to keep it on the low as he fears that the group has been fractured with the recent news of Sarin, and some of the elders want to take matters into their own hands. Either way, they want to prevent Iorwerth's forces from succeeding. Yisgwin has been distant and Baxtorian doubts his loyalty. He would like you to find him. Elena did see him leave recently, but she doesn't know in which direction he went, so she suggests that you find his trial. You inspect the rocks and other signs and find the footsteps, following them until you get to him. he is talking to the head of research for Lord Iorwerth, Iestyn Edun. It turns out that he was Ysgrin's informant. Iestyn didn't want the other elves to know because they might have misunderstood and imprisoned him, so it was safer for Ysgrin to keep the information to himself. Iestyn says that there's a traitor amongst the rebels and that they told Lord Iorwerth how to find the village of Lechia. They're going to launch their assault soon, so you all head back. You and Elena are going to help the citizens while Ysgrin is going to look for the orb. You help Morph find her children. Inside the house you search under the table to find Eoin, and in some cooking pots to find Iona. Lord Iorwerth appears. Elena will get the citizens to safety while you deal with him. He asks for the orb, and he'll withdraw his forces, leaving them in peace. Arianwen has been convinced by Lord Iorwerth that he's not the enemy, and they're convinced that they are freeing Sarin. When Iorwerth learned how to free her, he disobeyed his mother, who was the ruler of the clan, and in fact killed her to be the new head of the clan. He puts Eoin in front of him and says that if Baxtorian doesn't give the orb, he will kill the boy. Baxtorian gives the orb to save the boy's life, and Ysgrin is killed. You chase after them and confront Arianwen. You explain that they're not actually trying to free Sarin, but instead the fragment of her dark side. You ask him to let you pass and chase Lord Iorwerth, but he doesn't let you, so you have to fight him. Right before he is defeated, he manages to escape. Mourning for Ysgrin, Baxtorian now admits that when he was returning from his kingdom in the east, after Lord Iorwerth took Prifddinas, he kept sending his soldiers, but they kept dying to Iorwerth's forces, as they had the fortified walls of the city. Most of his people died, and Glariel was taken from him. When they were finally able to find out where she was, he sent all his soldiers to save her, but it was a trap. So then he sealed himself away, in the hopes that she would come and find him one day. Isilwin is sad because his mother Erlis died in that war. He's going to the underground pass and he intends to fight. You say that the dwarves may be able to seal the tunnel and that this would stop the Iorwerth forces from getting there. Before doing so, you find the last two clan elders. One of the clan elders passed away, but their descendants can be found. And if you can get in contact with the new king of Ardoin, he may be willing to also help. Lady Ithel of the clan of builders and architects left a clue that she put her soul into her greatest work. This village of Lechia was her final and finest contribution to the people. Lady Myla of the clan of scientists and explorers left a clue to follow the scrolls to find her. Baxtorian hands you a clue scroll. You go around Lechia finding symbols on the walls. Every symbol fills your mind with a bit more knowledge. When you get the fifth bit of knowledge, you learn that a statue is to be built in the middle of Lechia, requiring 8 limestone bricks. When you build the statue, Lady Kellen Ithel regains all of her knowledge. It turns out that she is the closest living relative of Lady Ithel, and she is happy to help at the underground pass. The first step of the clue are some coordinates. Then you find the second step in Zolandra. The next step is an anagram, and just outside the city gates of Prifddinas you dig and find another clue. Lastly, you spin outside the western entry of the underground pass with nothing equipped and see Lady Fion Myla. Everyone is now headed to the dwarven camp in the underground pass. You get there and see that it's been reinforced, and you talk to Baxtorian. General Heining has given the full support of the Tyrus forces, but the King of Ardoin does not wish to assist. You find out by talking to Elena that there's something that you can do to fortify the defences. Some of the alcohol that the dwarves have brewed is highly flammable. Elena mixed it with some chemicals to make it quite explosive. You load these in the holes outside the camp, and with this final prep in place you get ready to defend the fort and buy some time for the dwarves to seal up the mine. Lord Iorwerth would like to meet you and Baxtorian to have a final discussion before any fighting. Even though Lord Iorwerth is aware of what you discovered in the library, he still thinks that there's a chance to free Sarin in the Temple of Light. And because you will not back down, he has no option but to attack. Once you successfully defend the fortress for 4 minutes, Esselt appears and gravely harms Elena. While you deal with him, Baxtorian chases Lord Iorwerth and Arianwen, who made it to the crystal. You defeat Esselt. Baxtorian tries to reason and say that this is not the Sarin that they knew. Arianwen also thinks that this isn't Sarin, but Lord Iorwerth doesn't care anyway, and right as he unfreezes evil Sarin, Arianwen shoots him. The fragment of Sarin is in pain and fights you. She does 4 attacks, one that teleports you towards her, which you have to run away from to avoid melee damage. Then she splits into a darker and lighter version, of which you have to attack the lighter version. Then she summons healers, which you have to quickly defeat. And finally she does an attack that puts you on the spot and deals massive damage. As the fight progresses, she spawns more healers. Quick tip, in case you have low stats like me, use the Phoenix Necklace method, it's worth learning. After defeating Sarin, Lord Iorwerth is shocked by what you have done and is still convinced that she was innocent, but just confused and needed time to overcome her pain. Now that she's gone, Iorwerth feels that the last hope for the elves is gone too, and with that, he draws his last breath and dies. Arianwyn feels guilty that a lot of people have died because of him, but you remind him that many more would have perished if you hadn't stopped Lord Iorwerth. And although you both recognise that it was not Sarin, but a demented fragment of her, at least her pain has now ended. Arianwyn does imagine how things could have been if they were different. And he doesn't feel like he can stay with the elves any longer, so he's going to leave and explore the world. You bid each other farewell. Maxtorian and Elena greet you at the gates of Prifddinas, which has been rebuilt, as well as Lechia, but you express confusion as you can't see Prifddinas at all. Maxtorian says that this is one of the security measures that were put in place during the God Wars. From the outside, it looks like there's nothing there. Maxtorian and the other elders have come to an agreement to allow outsiders to visit. They've been afraid and mistrusting for too long. You and Elena are the first ones with the honour of visiting the city. Elena is going to move in as she has a lot to learn from the elves. Maxtorian and the elders have realised that there shouldn't be a singular elf ruler nor a gang of leaders, and will explore different options of governance. You are rewarded with access to Prifddinas and 40,000 XP in agility, construction, farming, herb lore, hunter, mining, smithing and woodcutting. Join me next time in the Season 7 finale of the Quest Lore series, where I'll explain the lore behind Desert Treasure 2.